welcome to the Takarazuka Review Fan Podcast, where fans from around the world get together to talk about Takarazuka shows and all of the gossip. So, this is Jen in New York, and with me today are...
Hi, I'm Becca, today in Massachusetts.
Elin from Sweden.
Lela, the sparkly Swede, currently in Kyoto.
Yay! So, we've got lots of happy things to talk about today. Layla, would you like to go first?
Oh, really? Oh, we're going to start with me, are we? Oh, that's great. So, basically, the most amazing thing ever happened, because Kitty and I went to see Hoshiai Hitoyo and Greatest Hits in Nagoya at the Chunichi Theatre. That's going to be demolished because they're building a new building and they're not going to have a theatre anymore at the top. So I think that's actually the last Zuka show that you're able to see in the Chunichi Theatre. But anyway,
Really?
So we were there. Yeah, I think so. Because, I mean, it's not going to be there for too much longer, from what I've understood. But that's not the happy thing, though. So the happy thing is that we got really, really, really good seats. Courtesy of Elin for yes. So basically, we were sitting near the aisle, and we didn't realize, but they use that aisle a lot during the show, and we talk about this actually in another episode where we scream a lot because we actually started recording it in the intermission in the theatre, going, "Oh my God, you won't believe what just happened!" But yes, so. But we've recorded like a proper episode after that where we scream and flail even more. But one of the things that happened was that Ayakaze Sakina came up the aisle and we got to like high five her or do the high touch that they call it. And then she stopped right in front of us and she like looked at us for a really long moment. Like, and I think Kitty like covered her face because she started blushing, and I was, but shoganai, you gotta like keep on clapping your hands, with the music and everything, because like that's the thing you do. And she was doing the whole choreography, but she was like looking properly at us, and like our eyes met, so like we're kind of engaged now, me and Saki. So.
Oh, well then.
Yeah, no one's allowed to make me feel that way and then not follow up on it. Like, no, that's not happening. So we're totally engaged. Yeah. So that's like my happy thing is Ayakaze Sakina, just the fact that she exists, and that I could see her amazing little mole underneath all her makeup, and I was just like, oh my God, because she was like half a meter away. Seriously, like. Sitting across from someone at a dinner table and leaning in, that kind of close. That's just ridiculous. Yeah. Okay, so that was my like amazing, ridiculous, happy thing. There's like more stuff if you listen to the episode that's coming out. That's us screaming, basically. Yes, Chigi related stuff. So that's great. My other happy thing was that I watched Miyarurika's Brilliant Dreams, where Asami Jun comes to like help her out, and I am now in love with Asami Jun as well, because how can I not be? And there is a moment when Miyaruri is doing something with a katana, I think, like she's like throwing a sword or. And Asami Jun is like standing there in her little outfit, and she's got her phone up, and she's either like filming Miyaruri or she is taking photos. And then she like looks over at the camera and she whispers like, "Collection." Like she's got like a collection like cool senpai pictures or whatever. It's just like, oh my God, Asami Jun, you're amazing. And that was so much fun. And I think actually that Kitty and I saw Asami Jun's last performance with the Tsuki Gumi in the Grand Theatre, because she's going to swap to Yuki. So I think that was her last performance with them in the Grand Theatre. So, I mean, obviously they'll be with the Grand Hotel in Tokyo as well, but yeah, so that was cool.
Yeah, if you like Asami Jun, I would really recommend AN, which is a bow haul from a couple years ago. It's stupidly cute.
Yeah, I've heard of
So
that.
you should try to find a copy.
Oh, absolutely. Will do.
Oh man, there's so much to talk about just in that like little bunch. I had no idea that Chunichi was closing down. Oh my gosh. This is so funny because I feel like
that's what I've heard.
No, I totally believe you. I haven't been paying attention to the news like I used to. Because like the Seinencon in Tokyo, they decided to like renovate and move somewhere else. So that's been closed for a while now. I feel like for like 20 or 30 years, I should shorten that. I'd say for like 15 years, Takarazuka's used like the same general group of theaters, and suddenly like they don't have the Seinencon, they're not going to have the Chunichi. It's just very funny.
Well, Seinencon, starting at least in the fall, is going to be used for performances. I don't know if Takarazuka has gotten back into it, but I know that's where Michan's doing the pajama game in the fall. So
yeah, but it was down for a couple years.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I remember. But so I hope they find something. I feel like whenever I see shows that are taped in Nagoya, the audience looks so happy and so excited to high touch the Seito, and I hope they find someplace else.
Well, that's so cool. All right. Ellen, how about you? What was your happy thing?
So my happy thing is that I hosted a Takarazuka viewing party just a couple of days ago at my place. And yeah, there were 8 of us, me and Anna, who've also been in some of the podcast episodes. And then there were 6 other friends of mine, all totally new to Takarazuka. And they're from my folk music group, actually.
Ooh, nice.
Yes, and apparently all of them really like musicals. Because at breaks during practice, I talk about this musical thing with one of them, and then suddenly everyone else comes up and is like, musicals? Did you say musicals? I love musicals. And I was like, yes, please come join us. So yes, obviously everyone's been given the Takarazuka speech, if you will, so they knew what to expect, more or less. And we all got together, and we've been planning this for quite a while, so everyone was really excited, me included. When we watched Don Juan with English subtitles, and everyone enjoyed it, had a good time, enjoyed the show and the company and snacks. Mostly the show, I hope. And we also watched some short clips from different shows, and it was both musicals and reviews, and it was really fun. And I really, really like watching Takarazuka with people who've never seen Takarazuka before or just anything like it.
Yes.
Well, at least if they're open-minded. Well, they don't have to like it, but I don't want them to say mean things about it either. But
yeah.
But yes, it was fun to hear their thoughts and impressions and just to get new perspectives on everything. Because after a couple of reviews, like when you're inside the Takarazuka world, you just come to expect things. You know, the most outrageous costume is just like, yeah, that was a bit much, maybe, meh. And then you sort of move on. You don't really think about things anymore because that's just how it goes, you know. But whereas they were like, oh my god, feathers, bling, tuxedos with glitter on them, this is amazing, you know. And and I was like, you've seen nothing yet, literally nothing. Just wait for it. But yes, that was really fun, and that was my happy thing. Yeah, I don't think that any one of them will really become fans anytime soon. Probably not ever. But at least they enjoyed it, and so did I. And I am definitely going to invite them again to see something else, because it was really fun.
Yeah, that's so much fun. That's one of my favorite things about Takarazuka too, is showing new people. I remember I actually got my grandmother to watch Sakura, which was the Aranke, like, Nihon Mono review, because I was like, oh, it's kind of like traditional dance. And she was, you know, again, she's never going to be a fan, but she enjoyed it. It was cute.
So did Anna make any topical snacks?
Oh yes, well, the snacks. Yeah, Anna and I sometimes organize Takarazuka viewings at this small cinema kind of place, and we always make show-themed snacks for every viewing. And for this party at my place, I didn't do specifically Don Juan snacks, but I did go with a Spanish theme. So we had a supposedly Andalusian cake, and I got to use some of the approximately 450 Spanish cocktail flags that I have left from our last Don Juan event, because they only come in boxes of 500 pieces, apparently.
Oh my goodness!
It's okay. You have a lot more Spanish-themed shows to go.
We will definitely watch more Spanish shows. But yeah, we had the cake, which has oranges and almonds, if anyone wonders. Yes, and I also made sangria, which was pretty tasty.
Oh, did you make it from the wine that's called Koto?
Oh, the El Coto wine. Oh, that would have been the perfect wine. I totally should have used it, but I didn't. I'm sad to say. Next time.
Okay, all right. Yeah. El Coto.
Are there any pictures of these snacks?
I don't have pictures from the other day, but I do have pictures from the other, like the previous Don Juan viewing. Somewhere. We had the same cake, but with a rose painted on and with like lots of tiny flags.
Let's put them on the blog.
Yeah, sure. We can do that. We also had strawberries in chocolate with tiny cocktails words in them. They were also pretty nice.
That's amazing.
Yes, like if you can't convince your friends to watch your Takarazuka shows, just lure them in with snacks.
Snacks for everyone.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi.
That's awesome. All right, Becca, how about you? What's your happy thing?
So, I actually try really, really hard not to just talk about Michan every time this segment comes up, and most of the time I'm successful, except for I woke up this morning and there was this great picture on Chie's Instagram of them having just randomly run into each other at a dance class. I mean, the picture is obviously staged, but it's really cute, and it's that, I ran into Michan at lessons, and Michan, kanegon, because that's what she calls Chie. It's like, and she looked really happy, and Michan herself does not have a social media presence. However, she does show up in everyone else's blogs, and it's a really cute picture. Yeah. The other thing I'll comment on is that Michan's only a few months out from being an otokoyaku, but both of them look like they could still be in Takarazuka. They both, still have short hair and kind of a masculine style.
Yeah. Now, they were just a year apart, right? When they were in music school together.
Yeah, they were, so they were a year apart in music school, and then Michan talks about in interviews that, so Chie had, okay, hold on, let me think of this. So they went to Berlin together because they're both in the Berlin tour, and they bonded. And then Chie had the Shinjin Koen role of the doorboy in Nova Bossa Nova, which was Michan's home Koen role, so they spent a lot of time watching it and goofing off. And apparently when they were Kakyusei, Chie would come over to Michan's house and she would teach her how to cook.
Oh.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
I don't think you should avoid talking about Michan, because you have the cutest stories.
Oh, thank you. No, but I mean, literally, I like to talk about other people too, and then, yeah.
We got you covered.
Okay, I'm just checking up on the whole Chunichi thing, and I think that the Chunichi Theatre might be up until March 2018, potentially. But I might be reading the Japanese incorrectly. So...
I had a friend today who also mentioned something about the Chunichi Theater being torn down, so it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and I know Takarazuka usually only just does one show there in February, so...
Yeah.
So maybe they'll have one more next year.
Oh, that would be cool. That would be really cool. Because it's such a nice theatre. Like, it's very close together. You're able to see them really well, so I like it. Sorry, I just wanted to double check.
No, it's good to know. Thank you for checking for us. So my happy thing is, I don't know, it's kind of weird. On the last episode, I made my confession about how at one of the dinner shows, or I don't know, it wasn't a dinner show. One of the ochakai that I went to, the tea parties, I was sitting next to a woman who offered to send me all her Migiwa Natsuko stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, sure, that sounds awesome. And then never followed up on it. But I was watching a Migiwa Natsuko dinner show that was broadcast a few years ago on Sky Stage, and I'm like looking and they're showing the audience, and I'm like, wait, I know like 4 of the people in this audience, and I'm pretty sure one of them was the lady that I talked to, so I just cracked it
That
up.
is so awesome.
It's such a small world.
Well, especially when you get into diehard fans of certain stars.
Yeah. But I guess I would be very remiss in my happy things if I didn't talk about Masaki this week, because her fan club had a huge bunch of announcements this week, and one of them is that her fan club is starting up again in April, which is pretty cool. I'm not sure if they're accepting foreign fans. It looks like the form that they have right now for like a freebie test fan club that they're doing doesn't really have a space for other countries. So I'll have to follow up on that. But also it was announced she's going to be playing Marie Antoinette.
Hey!
Along with Oki Kaname in 1789. So that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, I bet she's looking forward to that so much.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think Masaki has a face that's well suited to playing female roles, just the way that's shaped.
Yeah, she's always been the fairy type, so
yeah.
I think she's going to do pretty well switching over. I don't know about her singing voice. Like, she's done some of those songs where she's hit the high notes, but it was kind of like falsetto, so I'm very curious to see what her regular singing voice will sound like.
Have you watched the 1789 where she's playing Ronan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, I finally watched it.
Okay.
Oh, it's so good.
It was better than I thought it would be.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't watched it yet, but everyone tells me that Ronan is a really unlikable role, so maybe you will do better with Marie Antoinette.
It's going to be very different, though, because... And maybe the Europeans can tell me what they know about it. Like, I've heard that they really changed up the Marie Antoinette role for the Takarazuka version because they gave it to, like, the top Musumeyaku. Didn't they give her a bunch of songs that belonged to the other female lead?
I don't know at all. I've only seen the Takarazuka version, but, like, the day after, I need to have the music, so I had to go and buy the CD. It was like, there was a need. Like, I couldn't be without it. I had to go buy it. It was like, yes.
I feel like Olympe, I think it was actually the real lead role in the show, and then they kind of mixed it up too.
Yeah.
So, I remember somebody saying that, but I don't know a lot. We'll have to ask some other fans, and I'm sure they could let us know.
And I felt like a lot of people got good screen time, so I'm just happy for everyone. Yeah. Did we lose Elin?
No, I'm here, I think.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Yay!
Sorry.
So quiet.
Yeah, sorry, it's just
Okay,
I haven't
sorry.
seen that show yet, so I don't have a lot to say. Sorry. I'll watch it.
Okay, so our episode today is going to be about mostly focused on fan letters and fandom things. We're kind of throwing this episode together at the last minute because we missed each other. We haven't really had a cross-Atlantic Pacific episode in a while.
Sorry, guys. I think normally being in California, I'm the one who just has the last link that no one can coordinate with.
I think also that, you know, with the troop-specific episodes, you guys have such a good rapport and you know so much that it feels like, yeah, I want you guys to do it, and then I want to listen to the episode. It's kind of like,
Yes,
yeah.
I agree.
So I'm really keen on them, but yeah.
I was just going to say, I feel like my knowledge is really centered over like a certain period, and even current shows I'm not so good with.
Yeah, I feel like I can't add a lot on those troop episodes about like the last 10 years, so hopefully at some point people who are more up on the current stuff can do that. Anyway, yeah, so let's talk fan letters and fan presents, because we haven't gotten so many questions directly to us in the blog, but I know a lot of fans online have gotten questions about writing them and sending them. So I thought this might be a good chance to just kind of talk about our experiences and advice. And we are going to put a couple of links up in the blog, one of which is to the Taka Wiki, which has the different addresses that you can send fan letters and presents to while the actresses are moving between theaters. And another to Carly's blog. She has a really nice post up as well with some advice. But in the meantime, who would like to start us off?
Well, so Jen, do you want to use, I gave a very vague outline in the chat. Is it okay to kind of go by that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So one thing I wrote down when I was taking notes is who to write to. And so I think this applies much less if you are not in anyone's fan club or you're not the dedicated fan of any one star, in which case, write to your heart's content. I had one fan or one friend who at a time was really in love with a certain troupe, and she, jokingly said it was her goal to write to everyone there. I don't know how far she got, but
I'm pretty sure she got everyone, because she sent letters to everyone as they retired, too, so...
That's true, yeah. She hit a good number of them. But so one thing you hear about is... And so once again, take everything here with a grain of salt, because it kind of depends. That it is, if you have a star, it is easier to write to people who are younger than her than it is older than her, because the ones that are older than her are kind of considered her competition.
Actually, Becca, I'm going to back you up one minute.
Okay.
Because, I guess, just to introduce to people who are like, what are they talking about? There's rules for fan letter writing. If you are in a fan club, like an official fan of an actress, well, semi-official, then some people frown upon writing letters to other actresses, or there's kind of like unwritten rules about it. I don't know. I don't think people are as picky about these rules as they are about things like joining more than one fan club, but just as an intro. So that's why Becca's like, if you're a fan of one star, then... All right, so continue.
Oh, I was just going to say... that what I've heard is that it's, so let's say you pick your star and she's Ken 8, that is less frowned upon, I suppose, to write to people who are younger than her, and that the ones older than her are considered more her competition. But it also depends on the context. Like, I've gone to Ochakai for top stars who aren't my own, and it's always, I think, considered very acceptable to give a letter at Ochakai to be like, hey, I'm really excited to see you tonight, and here are 5 different shows I liked you in. Bye.
I guess, I'm not sure how much the actresses take this to heart either, and I think it's a personality thing, because I've got a friend who used to regularly write to, like, a bazillion actresses, and she was actually pretty close to some of the underclassmen, and they would actually talk to each other about the letters she wrote to them. So, and then they would tell her about, like, so-and-so said this about this, and, like, she would blush and, be like, oh, disgusting, stop talking about me. But, I mean, I've also heard people say, oh, if you're in so-and-so's fan club, don't write to anyone else in that troupe, because she gets mad jealous. So I think it's a personality thing, too.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think some of it's also just, are you declaring your true, undying, singular love to every single actress? Because that might be problematic. But if you're just like, hey, you're really cute in this role, I like that, bye, then it's not such a big deal.
I mean, how do you decide who you want to write a letter to if you're not in a fan club? Actually, let's just talk about first letter writing experiences, if you remember, or like a letter that you really enjoyed writing, or anything like that. Because Becca and I have been talking a lot. How about Leah and Ellen? What do you think?
Okay, so my first letter writing experience was pretty recently. I don't know if I should actually mention who it was to, because that might be odd, but it's basically it's not my girl that I wrote to first, which is a bit of a shame. But it was good, because when writing My One True Lady, that, like, there's a whole lot of anxiety packed into that, and it turned out that I kind of had to write this other fantastic, gorgeous, amazing lady, because I was getting fan club tickets through her fan club, and I felt that I wanted to show my support to her as a foreign fan, and so I gave her a present as well, and I wrote this letter, and it was actually really, like, I think it released me from the kind of writer's block that I'd had over My One True Lady, because after I'd written that letter, it did not take me too long to write the first letter to my girl. So I thought that was really, really good. And I wrote it in Japanese, and very faily Japanese. And I essentially wrote, I'm sorry, but I'm pants at Japanese. So if I have weird grammar or strange vocab, like, just ignore it, like, forgive me. But I tried to, like, stay very polite and basically just talk mostly about the roles of hers that I'd enjoyed and why I'd enjoyed them, kind of thing.
Yeah, I also have kind of a standard, hi, I'm Rebecca, and I used to live in Japan during these years, and I'm a foreigner, so sorry I'm weird. And after you've written it a few times, you kind of just know how to do it.
And I have to say, like, for anyone listening who's like, oh, I don't speak Japanese, there's no way I could write Japanese. I mean, you could write your fan letter in English, because even if they can't read it themselves, which shame on them for not paying attention to their 8 years of English they had to take in school, they can always go and ask somebody else in the troupe who's, like, good at English or whatever other language you write in. Although I would recommend English if you don't write in Japanese.
Yeah, some of them are bilingual, though, and that gives me serious anxiety, like, you know, the thought that they might look up this podcast and listen to it, like, that gives me serious, like, no, they're not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to even, no, this, no, nope.
See, I used to think there's no way these two spheres would overlap. I was like, what Takara Jane is going to be like looking up fandom stuff? But I actually met, and I might have told this story before, and I apologize, but I met an OG who's living in New York City now, who's kind of knows a friend of a friend, and she mentioned the Takawiki, and I just, like, she said before, and when she was in, like, TMS and just joining the review, she was like, it was so helpful, I couldn't remember anybody's names. I was just like, oh my lord. Of course, this was before, like, the official Takarazuka website started putting up pictures and everything, so I'm sure it's different now, but it was really cute.
That's
I was
adorable.
super happy.
I think Takawiki still has more information, though, like, more useful information as a fan, I think.
Yeah, it's getting up there, though. I mean, the Takarazuka website's getting pretty cool, too, so you can, like, cross-link to shows and stuff now.
Yeah, no, but, like, because I was checking out the, like, because you have to click on each name, and it's, I mean, of course, Japanese people know how to read in Japanese, so obviously that would be very useful, but I still can't read kanji for names, because I'm pants, and you have to click on each name, and then there will be a picture that pops up, and that, to me, didn't, like, it wasn't easy for me to look up people, whereas on Takawiki, I can just be like, okay, here are all the gens that are in this show, and I can just, like, click and get the page to load on a different page and, like, just go through them. So I personally, I think Takawiki is amazing and very, very benri and useful and stuff, but, like, okay.
Yeah, the thing about Takarazuka names is that the way they're written in kanji, a lot of Japanese people aren't necessarily sure how to read them. Like, every now and then you'll get one that's a typical Japanese name, but I used to sit in the teacher's room when I was teaching English in Japan, and I'd be working on translating some article, and someone would look over my shoulder and be like, I have no idea how to pronounce that.
Although I think once you're a fan, you start to see the same kanji pop up again and again, you know, like stars and flowers and oceans, and they're very pretty names, but...
Anna actually told me once that when you are a Takarazuka fan, as a foreigner especially, and you learn how to read words and say words and stuff, you will, for example, shonichi, the first day, if you're a Takarazuka fan, you'll read it as shonichi, but if you are Japanese, you normally read it as hatsunichi or like hatsuhi or something like that. So you can definitely tell who's a Zuka fan depending on how they read some words. So that's quite fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Or just like a theater fan. Yeah.
Right.
I just wanted to back up again for a minute, and like just the tradition of writing fan letters in Takarazuka is kind of interesting. I think it's a Japanese fandom thing. I mean, sure, in other countries people write fan letters, but I mean, in Takarazuka they always talk about how the fans sort of help raise the Takarajin from like young teenagers to adults. Like it's a big family, and I really got that feeling. Like another thing that they call fan letters is love letters. So like some of them really are like gushing about, oh, you're so amazing, blah 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 blah. But like when you've been writing regularly, like 3 times a week, you can't really say that anymore. So like people will be writing fan letters, and they'll be like, yeah, so. And then they, like, unburden themselves on everything they did that week. And, like, oh, I had a great week, I did this and that, and blah, 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 blah. And I think the Takarajin, like, I think some of them get a kick out of it. But I think some of them are probably like, oh, God, I gotta learn about, so-and-so's trip to the grocery store again. I think it's really, really interesting.
Yeah, I find it's a balance between, I'm sure it must get boring after a while to just continually hear about, yes, you were so amazing about that. So I try to spice it up with things like, hey, today I went to the Reptile Cafe in Osaka, because I figure at least that's something different.
Yeah, I'm sure they get some great, like, recommendations on places to go. I was gonna say, though, like, some of the older fans who've, like, gone from actress to actress, like, I don't want to say they feel entitled, but they have, like, a certain gravitas, I guess. Like, I remember when Masaki was, like, doing Hamlet, the fans who were there, like, every day, who went to every single show, like, the really insane, crazy fans, would be like, oh, her dancing has gotten awful, I told her all about what she needs to do to improve, and I'm just standing there going, oh, my goodness.
Whoa.
So, I think people approach it very differently depending on like how long they've been writing and things like that. But I also think like a lot of fans of Takarazuka think of it's the dream world. It's like their escape, and I think some fans have problems in their own lives or issues that they're working through, and a lot of them use it kind of as a confessional. And I think it was Ryoga Haruhi who was talking about like how much it meant to kind of get that glimpse into other people's lives and to understand that everybody's struggling in their own way. And I just thought it was very sweet.
Yeah. I think it might be important as well to know that you are important to other people. Because, even though you are a super popular person, you might not feel as though you are. And just to get that confirmation from someone can be just really powerful, I think.
Yes, definitely.
So one thing I wanted to add in is that, how do they know that you're writing to other people? So when letters either come in via mail or if they get dropped off at the stage door, although I'm not positive, it's actually the job of the youngest Seito to collect them and distribute them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So,
well,
It's so cool.
I did hear though that because obviously how many fan letters and how many gifts you get is an indication of how popular you are, and so it's actually potentially better for the shiens if you send letters to the company and presents to the company so that they see that this Takaragen is getting a lot of attention. Whereas if you simply hand it to the fan club, it can be less visible to the company so that they don't like get that feedback that, oh, this gen is really popular, is really getting a lot of fans, and so we should promote them because they're doing well, kind of thing. But that, I mean, it hasn't been explained explicitly to me, just kind of hinted at, so I'm not quite sure, because I had the impression originally that you weren't supposed to write to the company unless there was no other way for you to get the letter to them, kind of thing. But what do you guys think?
I've heard different things about this. Like, if you're not a member of a club and if you're not in Japan, you would have to send it, I guess. But if you are in a club, I think there are different rules depending on the club. Like, say, it can be that they want you to send stuff, or it can be that it's not okay, or it can be like, well, you can send stuff, but only under certain circumstances. Or like, yeah, if you really can't make it to Irimachi or Demachi, it might be okay to send stuff. Things like that. So I think it might really depend on the club.
Yeah, I feel like letters and presents are a little different. Like, I think they like the letters coming in, but I think, like, presents, because I know some fan clubs even say it straight up, like, please don't send presents, especially when they're in Tokyo or wherever, because then they need to transport them around, and that's just more work for everybody.
Or if you're going to send it something to Tokyo, make sure that it's either lightweight or consumable.
Wait. But that's the thing. Don't send food.
Well, I hear different things about this. Never send anything that is not packaged.
Yeah, I just... I think it used to be more of a thing of sending food, but nowadays it's usually... Yeah, if it's pre-packaged and you're dropping it off there, that's one thing, but, like, don't mail it because, yeah, don't mail food.
I was told that some gens don't want to receive food because they don't have time to eat it. So there'll be just
and, like,
amassing
I think some of the upperclassmen will pass it out, but...
I have, given food as gifts before, and my attitude has always been, well, as long as someone eats it, sure. But I guess it's different if you're mailing it across a distance, and also that it gets a little bit weirder that way.
Yeah, I think also it's more fun if you send foreign foods, like if you, like, buy sweets or something to send, and they're not the type of thing that's going to go off or anything, and it's a local specialty or whatever, then it can be, oh, wow, this is a really cool thing from America, or, because that's more interesting for them to try out, I guess, rather than you bought some Japanese sweets, and give to them. Like, that might not be that interesting for them, but I think foreign sweets or something like that could be potentially very cool and fun for them, potentially.
Yeah. I think the other thing to think about is a lot of them are on a diet, so it's just, like, kind of cruel to give them this food. Like,
that's
there's
true.
that story about Ozora Yuhi who, like, ate all the, like, because it said all the upperclassmen got all the food and they put it in the green room, and so she, like, before her Hatsubutai, she spent her whole Hatsubutai basically backstage, like, chowing down on this food, and how much weight did she say she gained? She gained, like, 10 pounds, something crazy like that.
But yeah, like,
be careful.
No matter how amazing your homemade cookies are, they're probably not a good idea. But I would say, like, your very well packaged local specialty might be okay.
I think, yeah, let's use this opportunity to switch over to presents, because I feel like the presents, especially underclassmen who are, like, trying to raise up the Star Trek ladder, for them, the thing that's really useful is clothing or jewelry that is something that they can wear to photo shoots, because they're always having to buy their own clothes for some of those photo shoots and things. And in Japan, of course, everybody is measured on, like, which brand name they're wearing, so that kind of stuff gets very expensive very quickly. So if you have something cool, like, from your country that you could send them that they could wear, like a New York City t-shirt, or, something from France or whatever, I think that's the kind of thing that is very useful to them. Plus, it's really cool when you see them actually wearing it in the magazine photo or whatever.
But I don't think like a local Swedish like folk. How do you even say that in English? Like we say folkdräkt.
Traditional
like,
costumes?
Basically the traditional, traditional outfit. Yeah. Yeah.
Although you never know.
I mean, it would be pretty cool to see someone in that.
Well, I think they could totally like make it work, but yeah, it'd be different.
I think this is why in the otome, a lot of them talk about things that they collect or the colors that they like and things like that. So it's sort of to give people an idea of like what kinds of things to buy as presents. Some of them are really hopeful in the stuff that they write and aren't ever expecting to receive it, but it helps you get an idea of what you could get them.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Becca, I didn't mean to talk over you. What were you going to say?
Oh, no. I was just going to say that, if you have something that's a specialty of your area, like, I don't know, is there a special Swedish jewelry or something? That could be kind of cool, too.
Yeah, we do have special designers. Yeah.
Yeah, or just, something, like for me, I am not rich, to say the least. And so when I'm giving gifts, I try to go for, well, at least this is interesting and it's something that's exotic. Like when I was a grad student, I think I, gave a couple of t-shirts from UC Berkeley because at least that's an interesting name, things like that.
Yeah. I also know that people give like hand cream and stuff like that. Maybe that's why they've got such soft hands.
Yes.
All of them. Just like,
I've done perfume before, mixtapes or mix CDs. I've done that before, like, depending on what kind of show they're doing, I'll, like, ask around for people's, like when they did Gypsy Baron, I was like, does anybody have any recommendations of, like, world music that has to do with gypsies? And I put together one for her, like, before practice, so she could, like, listen to it. So stuff like that, I think, I don't know. It depends on the actress, too, and what they like.
I've also done things like, the advantage of living in a foreign country is that often you have more source material for whatever the show is. So I think, like, during Ocean's 11, I got Michan a photo book of Vegas casinos, and I don't expect her to hold on to it forever, but I hope she, got to page through it in the rehearsal room and be like, oh, so that's what an American casino is like, or...
Oh, that's cool. That's a great idea.
Yeah, that's so nice. I'm sure she appreciated that.
It was heavy though. Like I brought it to her in Japan, so I don't expect her to hold on to it forever. But I hope she enjoyed paging through it.
And I think, like, especially if they're younger and they're like dancers or something, if you get them things like foot massagers or like bath salts and things like that they can use to kind of relax. I think that's kind of cool. That's not something that I would ship overseas though. That's something that I would definitely like take to Takarazuka City and like give to them there, so they don't have to haul it around. We should ask Sakiko if she has heard any suggestions of what would be great presents for fans.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's true.
She's probably heard from recommendations of things to send.
They're just things that would be interesting for them to see from other countries, actually, because, I mean, sometimes it can be hard as a foreigner to know what would be useful for a native Japanese person, because it's not always that you think the same way of things that are useful, because you're not used to living the same way. So I think sometimes it can, your best intentions even, like, can just, like, kind of misfire because you're not used to thinking in the same way, potentially.
Right.
Hey.
But I think it's kind of, it's the thought that counts, too.
Yeah.
Like, we make it all specific about, get this or get that, or try this or try that. But I'm sure, like, most of them are just so excited to get something from another country.
Yeah, I would think that most of them, that even if ultimately they end up passing on the gift to an underclassman or something, that they do appreciate the thought.
So, I was kind of curious to ask, because I know all of us have had different experiences writing to different people. Like, who have you heard back from or not heard back from? Because I think some fan clubs, especially actresses who are aiming again to be like a top star, so they're young and they're building up their fan clubs, I think the fan clubs actually like either they pass it on to the fan club or the fan club kind of goes through the mail and takes the addresses and kind of like sends out application forms for joining the fan club to anybody who writes them a letter. Because I've gotten a bunch of those even when I was living in America, which is kind of cool. But I'd be like, oh, I can't join your fan club. Sorry. But I've also gotten a couple of really cool just like thank you notes back. Let's see. Na-chan, an actress in Tsukigumi, I wrote to her because her Windish, when they did Elizabeth, was amazing. So I wrote to her to tell her how amazing it was. And she sent me back a postcard with just kind of, just a short, like, thanks on the back. But it was really cool. And I wrote to Yoshizuki Eri before she retired. Not expecting to hear anything back, but just like I had been in love with her because she had been like in Rika's Tsukigumi and Mami's Tsukigumi. She'd just been in Tsukigumi for so long, and so I wrote to her to be like, oh, thank you for being so amazing. And she sent me back, like, they send out these official, like, I'm retiring pictures and like letters and things, and she actually sent me one, which usually I think those only go to fan club members. So I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So yeah, I think it depends on who you're writing to. Definitely. How about you? Any of you get anything back when you're writing letters?
Yeah, I've gotten...
And you don't have to be specific if you don't want to.
I've gotten back some, what's called reijo, which are those postcards where they either do or don't sign them. Back when I've written letters, I don't think there's anyone who I'm really regular with, either in terms of writing or in terms of getting reijo back. But often if I send kind of a one-off note of, hey, I really liked you in this, I'll get a reijo back. And it's very exciting to get in my American inbox.
I haven't gotten anything back, but I also haven't written my address. I've just signed it with my name and then I've handed it to like a fan club. So letter or postcard or anything, like I haven't written any addresses or anything on it. So I think they can't get back to me even if they want to.
Yeah, and I've only actually sent one letter, and that was quite recently, and I haven't heard anything back.
So it just kind of depends. Sometimes I see the opposite, Jen, where before they have fan clubs, they're much better about answering their own mail, and then after they get fan clubs, it's much more controlled by the daihyo who does and does not get reijo. But it depends.
Yes. Oh, I think that's totally true. But I think also, so like younger stars, especially who are on their way up and trying to build up the fan club. So it's not really a fan club yet. It's like that unofficial, amorphous, gonna be a fan club someday. Or like upperclassmen who have a fan club, but it's not because there's different types of fan clubs. Like there's some that actually do irimachi, damachi guard, like outside the theater. And there's some that like kind of meet around the corner. And those are kind of more unofficial. And I think a lot of Takarazuka fans actually like those fan clubs better because you don't have to worry about buying wear, like this fan club wear to like do irimachi, damachi. You could just go and meet them, and you don't necessarily have to join their fan club. And I think people, upperclassmen and underclassmen in those kinds of situations don't get as much fan mail, so they probably have more time to reply and don't have to worry about it as much.
Yeah.
I think people who are on the top star track, by the time they've, started getting roles or getting noticed, they don't have the time to reply. Plus, it would be super expensive to reply to everybody who wrote to them. So,
no, I'm not expecting any replies at all from my girl. I'm just kind of writing into a black hole.
Well, yes, but the nice thing about that is, like, once you're in the fan club of an established actress, you do get reijo back. Becca was talking about the thank you cards. So every time they do a performance, they have a stage photo with, like, thanks for coming and supporting me, like, printed on it. And sometimes they don't actually write anything on that. It's just your address and you get the postcard. But it's still kind of cool to get. I know when I was in Masaki's club, I did get some with, like, handwritten thanks on them, like, back when she was still an underclassman, like, 2006, 2007.
Oh, wow.
And then after that, she got too popular, I think. And so then it was just the official, here's your pre-printed postcard.
If you're ever in Takarazuka City, it's really fun to go around to local businesses, and they'll often put up the reijo that they get from different people because, if a Sato, say, gets lunch at a certain place, even if she's ordering out, like, she'll often send a thank you to that business just to say, like, hey, thank you for all your support and things like that. It's just, I love looking at it, especially the summer and New Year's pictures, because they tend to be like on pictures that you don't see anywhere else, and sometimes they're really silly and goofy.
And Mama-san at Izumi's, like, she'll always pull out like all her reijo to show to fans. She'll be like, who do you like? And she'll get like the big stack out.
Oh.
Oh, I actually have a story about that. I hope it's okay to talk about Izumi's a little bit.
I think so.
Okay, yeah, no, I think so
You get
too.
slapped on
And
the
it's
wrist.
So I've gotten into the habit of sending out my own holiday / New Year's cards at the end of the year, and it's just me with my picture on it. So it's kind of like a reijo, and so there's a couple of people in Japan who I send this to, and one of them was Mama-san at Izumi's, just to say, oh, I hope you're doing well, and thank you always for all the good food, and she wrote me one back.
Oh.
Oh, that's super cute.
Yeah, so that was really sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of a tradition in Japan, like the New Year's card. It kind of like we do Christmas cards in the US. And one of my friends in the fan club, for Masaki's fan club, she would like take Masaki stage photos and she would like edit them to match whatever the Chinese zodiac sign that the upcoming year would be. So like she would add like like the year of the rabbit, there would be like bunny ears on her and stuff. She'd do like really funny puns. Like it was always really cute, and she'd like hand them out to people in the fan club, and I always thought that was super, super cute. Becca, did you have anything else on your letter list you wanted to hit?
Oh, let me look at our chat. And while I'm doing that, I will tell the story once that I was writing a letter to Nanami Hiroki when she got her first and only Shinjin Koen lead. And it wasn't until after I was done writing the card that I realized I had written it so that the card was facing upside down.
Oh, no.
So I ended up just getting another card.
Oh, that's too bad. That's too bad. Yeah.
Oh, I've got a story. This is actually kind of recent. When I was in Japan recently, I went back to see Masaki's final show, and there was an actress that I had supported a lot, both while she was in Takarazuka and after she left Takarazuka, and later she got married and opened a little shop just outside Tokyo, and so I went and stopped by, and I didn't know if she would remember me or not, but she was like, oh my gosh, it's Jen, and she's like, I remember you wrote me all those letters, and I was just like,
Oh my god.
So, I mean, they do remember. They totally remember. So they do mean something to them. It was cute. It was super cute.
That's nice. Oh. But do you always write with ink? Or do you...
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's do mechanics. So when I was, like, doing the fan club every morning thing, I lived about 2 hours by train outside of Tokyo. And I didn't have a lot of money to stay in a hotel in Tokyo that often, so I would have to get the earliest train into Tokyo. So I would be writing my letters on the train in the morning, half asleep. But I tried to write in pen just because it looks nicer. And in Japan, like, writing letters is like an art. You know, you go to a stationery shop, and like the stationery in Japan is out of this world, and the stickers and everything. So I use pen. Sometimes I'd use whiteout, but usually I'd use stickers. So if I make a mistake, I would just put a sticker on top of the mistake and write around it. And it usually ended up looking okay. But I'd usually like write it out first somewhere else and then copy it over, which took forever, but... And then after the show, like, all the fan club usually is writing their cards as they're standing at Damachi waiting for the actress to come out. And I would always be so embarrassed because my Japanese is so bad and I'd have to look up kanji and things. So usually I end up writing most of my fan letters like during intermission. So that was usually like a good time to do it.
Oh, you see, I would always feel self-conscious sitting there in intermission, like with someone potentially looking over my shoulder at what the gaijin's writing about.
Well, usually I would get up and go to the stairwell or something like that.
Yeah, I did the same, actually. I also wrote during intermission. And because even when I have a lot of time to write, my handwritten Japanese still isn't super pretty. So, I really don't want to write while being stressed and while standing up. So, I wanted to be able to read the letter.
Yes. Did you usually use pen? Or?
Yes, pen. But I'd also write out the letter first. Like, I'd write it on my phone and then write the actual letter by hand. So, many hours were spent writing letters. Like, pretty short ones, but you want them to be as good as possible and grammatically correct.
Yes.
Yeah, so it takes a bit of time.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes I'd have, like, pre-written intros to all my, like, Demachi cards. So it would be like, oh, congratulations on a 2-show day.
Yeah.
Otsukaresama deshita. You must be tired. And then I'd, like, leave the last couple lines to be like,
oh, that's
this
smart.
thing that you did today was really cool. Yeah.
That's smart.
Then you don't have to write as much.
Yeah. And I joined the club for the first time this summer, and I did my first iride, and I was only there for 4 or 5 days, but after a while it got really hard to come up with new things to write, something other than just I really like you. And since I was only there for a few days, I wanted every letter to be as good, good and meaningful, but it was pretty hard, especially days when I hadn't seen the show. And because like if you see the show the same day, you can always write about things you liked that day, but it was quite hard. I think.
It gets tough. It gets really tough, and that's when I start like being really jealous of all the native Japanese speakers because obviously for them it's just writing down their thoughts. Well, for us it's like, oh, we struggle over every single character.
Yeah, it's so tough. Like, and the thing was, like, for one of my letters, like a couple of other fans saw it as I was waiting to hand it over, and they complimented me on my kanji writing skills, and I just stared at them and I was thinking to myself, like, you guys don't know how many times I've literally rubbed it out and written it again. Like, it's like,
yes.
No.
I often worry about
It's a struggle.
what sorts of things I am saying completely unintentionally because I got some grammar wrong, and I just hope they laugh at it.
Yeah. But you know what I also noticed? Like, by the time I'd left Japan, my vocabulary, at least my theater vocabulary, had improved a lot. And like there was a certain group of kanji that I could write very quickly and very neatly and just like toss off, like otsukaresama deshita and gekijo and like koen and things like that.
Yeah.
That now that I've been back in the States for 4 years, it's a struggle. I haven't really written a fan letter in a while because I'm like, I'm out of practice.
Hey. But do you mention the fact that it's you at the beginning of the letter? Like, of course, at the beginning of the first letter, you have to introduce yourself. But in the subsequent letters, I mean, if you're writing like a quick little card, like just to give them at iride or something, like I understand why you wouldn't do that. But if you're writing a proper letter, would you say, well, this is me, the fan from da-da-da, and then you sign at the bottom? Or do you just sign at the bottom and leave it at that?
For Michan, I wrote her and, was at iride pretty regularly for a long number of years. So by the end, it was just like, yep, you probably figured out by now it's me. Also, after a while, I started... It was fun to give a special card every now and then, but by my last trip, I just had my one standard stationery set and figured that she would eventually catch on to the fact that the ones with the bad grammar all had blue flowers on them.
Yeah, I feel like like you said, I introduced myself in the first letter, but then after that it would just be my name. But there were some things that I always wrote in English, even when the rest of my letter was in Japanese. Some of it was because, like, I'm terrible at keigo and, like, official letter writing. I didn't want to worry about messing up the official, like you would say sincerely in English or whatever. But things like good luck, which actually if it was in America you wouldn't tell an actress good luck, but you know, things like that I would write in English. So I think, you know, you've got a pattern to your letter writing. They figure out who you are eventually.
If they have time to read it. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Although there's some who they swear they read them all in the bath.
So what I have heard, and obviously it'll vary with every Seito, but is that they at least scan through most of them. So, you know, they might not read it cover to cover, but they will at least, you know, kind of browse through or see what people are talking about.
And the other thing, like, I think it was Ellen who mentioned, like, after you've been doing it for a couple days, it's hard to think of things to write. So instead of writing, like, a letter, I would just do the postcards, which usually at Irimachi Damachi you do anyway. Yeah. And usually once they start getting official Takarazuka postcards, the fan clubs urge you to buy those and use those for your letter writing because, you know, the more postcards they sell, the more the company thinks, you know, they're popular. But I also think about it like, oh my god, they're getting their own face like 100 times a day. So sometimes when I'm coming over from another country, I'd like sneak out in like some New York City postcards and things like that. And then I figure even if they're just skimming them or not reading them all, maybe they'll be like, oh, that's a cool picture of the Statue of Liberty. I'm gonna, you know, stick it on my dressing table for a day or whatever. So it's kind of a mini present in itself from a foreign country.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Get something that's slightly different.
If I can out you for a moment, you had a really cool idea of getting pictures of beauties from around the world when Masaki was doing Lucchini and Elizabeth. I thought that was a really cool idea.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I asked people to send me postcards from their countries, like especially the Europeans. So I used those postcards to give to Masaki, which I thought was kind of cool.
Oh.
But I don't know what she thought of it. She's probably like, oh god, it's another weird, like, European postcard.
I'm not much into being able to draw, but I think my proudest effort was one time, this is when Michan was in Singing in the Rain, and if you've ever seen it before, she has the whole thing where they show in the silent film where she's going, no, 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 and then Harukaze Misato's going, yes, yes, yes. And
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah, so my highest accomplishment was taking a bunch of like letter stickers and just using those to write no, 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 yes, yes, yes all over the envelope.
I love that
That's
show.
amazing. I'm just like, you know, if I were to try to do something funny instead of something like really appropriate, because I try to control my behavior and try to just do the right thing or the good thing or whatever. But like my sense of humor is quite wicked, and I'm sure if I release it, like I'll end up, you know, drawing, because I got these, I had like this crazy idea the other day, because I got these, because I failed completely at sending Christmas cards. I bought cards that were too small, and the dude in the post office, he just looked at me and he was like, I can't send these, they won't go in the machine. And I was just, well, there's 40 of them, and I've written all the addresses, what do I do? And he was like, well, you could tape them to bigger cards, I guess. So I bought these like postcards that you draw on the back, and I you know, stuck the Christmas cards onto them, and like, you know, went to the post office to mail them. And there was a different person at the till that day, and she just like looked up at me and like looked at my Christmas cards, and then she looked at me and she was like, the fuck you done? But like in really polite Japanese. It's just like, you know, and I thought that was hilarious, but I couldn't laugh in her face. But I still have these postcards that you draw on the back left over, and I just had this idea like, oh, you know, it would be so much fun just drawing like really weird stick figures on them. Just like really weird ones, like really terrible. But, you know, I like, you know, I couldn't give that to Asian, or would they think that something like that was funny, or would they just be like, what is this?
Oh, You know they would. You just have to find the ones with the quirky sense of humor, which I wish Kate was here because I feel like she always found the ones with the really weird sense of humor. But that reminds me, like, talking about making things. One category that we completely overlooked when we were talking about presents, the presents that they seem to find the coolest are if you can sew. Like, a lot of them, fans would start, like, a pattern of, I can't remember who it was, but there was one fan who made duplicates of all the costumes for every show and put them on teddy bears and gave them to the actress. And she kept them all, like, because they were amazing. Like, this woman could really sew. Or there was a fan who did the same thing, but for, like, little Pink Panther dolls. Yeah, if you're creative and artistic, you could do anything you wanted, and it would be pretty cool.
Also, I think it was one of Kirian's fans who would make matching Finch costumes, Finch being her dog, for every show.
Yeah.
Yes. That's amazing.
Those were amazing.
Hey.
So, yeah, if you're artistic, or even if you're not artistic and you want to do stick people, I think there was a period I went through where, like, I can't draw worth crap, but I would do, like, little chibis of her, like, from each show as I gave her the cards. Yeah, that was a thing I did for a while. Until I grew out of it. I don't know.
Sometimes when I go to Ochakai, I see some of the fan art. I'm not sure if it's the ones they received from fans or from the underclassmen, but it's actually put out the front for you to look at. It's pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's cool. And then there was Maggie, and the time she, like, put her own art out at her Ochakai.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Going through, like, an artistic phase. And we walk in and we look at it and we go,
Was it really good?
It was decent. I'm not an artist, but...
I'm not an artist either, but it was very, like, modern
Yeah, it was.
art. I was just like, those are interesting color choices.
You know, I think Tom Todoroki Yu has actually done a couple of art exhibitions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, she has done.
Yes.
Yeah.
I haven't been to any of them, but
And then,
they always announce them on the website.
yeah, and then Ayabuki Mao, I don't think she's done any exhibitions, but she was really into photography for a while.
That's cool. All right. Does anyone have any other thoughts about letter writing, present giving, any cool stories?
I actually had a thought about doing irimachi and demachi because it can be quite tricky as a new fan to figure out what you're supposed to do. Like, you've gotten to the place, and after trial and error, you've found the right fan club. Because you the first time you go, you don't know what the staff look like. So you don't know which fan club it is unless they are carrying merchandise. And they don't always do that. So it can take you a little while because they all meet around the same area. So there can be like a choice of 5 different fan clubs and you're not sure which one is the one you're looking for. And there's a lot of Japanesing going on, and you might not have perfect Japanese skills like me. No, I don't. So basically, what you seasoned fans, like, what do you normally do at an irimachi and a demachi? Like, what is the procedure? What happens?
In terms of finding your people?
No, in terms of once you've actually found your fan club and you're not understanding their instructions in Japanese.
I think even before that, let's say the best way to find a fan club if you haven't joined one yet and you want to talk to the staff is not to approach them at irimachi and demachi.
No.
The best time to do it is about 30 minutes before the show starts, because when they're giving out tickets, they're all holding signs with their actress's name on it. So that's the easiest way to find the staff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I'm talking when you are in the fan club and you're turning up for irimachi the first time. That's, yeah.
Are we talking about which theater are we talking about?
The Grand Theater, yeah.
Unfortunately, I think Grand Theater is a little bit harder.
So let's assume you have your club wear, the fan club costume that you need to be wearing at irimachi or demachi. You will look for the group of people who are wearing that wear. That's usually the only way to do it if you don't know the members of the club yet. Becca, you've probably done more Grand Theater than I have. I can talk about Tokyo, but...
Yeah, so with Grand Theater, if you are a top star club, you will meet directly in front of the Fan Plaza, which is that area right by the stage door. And if it helps at all, they go by seniority in terms of how far out everyone meets. Also...
Right, so it starts at the fan club and it goes all the way back to the parking lot there, right? Along the street there.
Yeah, although some of them I think also branch out in the direction towards Takarazuka on. So normally, the nice thing about Grand Theater is that rather than having to run to the door like Tokyo, they usually give you 20 to 30 minutes before you have to line up, which I prefer to having to write my letter while I'm standing. So... Normally, like, if you get if you're in a club and you get information about where it is, they will tell you in an email where you should be going, and I find that helpful rather than just having to randomly walk around and try to find your people.
Yeah, that's usually the best way to do it, but like you said, if you can't read the emails, then eventually you'll figure out what the kanji are.
No, but you've found your fan club, basically.
Okay.
What is the procedure for what happens when the jian arrives and you go to hand over the letters, and what happens after?
That's usually also in the emails, because some of them don't have the fans move and some do. So, like, sometimes you're just there and the front row will hand over and kneel down and the next row will pass. Or sometimes, like, they do the little elevator snake thing. So it really depends on what they tell you to do in the email or what the staff tell you to do.
To be totally honest, my best strategy for it would be to get in the middle of the row, do not be in the front row, and then just follow what everyone else does. So that way you can observe exactly what they're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, don't be on the right side or the left side. That's good advice. Be in the middle of the row.
Okay, just try to, be as far hidden in the group as possible, kind of thing, so that everyone will, like, poke you in the right direction.
Yeah.
Okay. And especially if it's a top star club, there will be plenty of other people, so it's not like you're going to be up front and on the spot.
And usually the fan club's very, very friendly. Like, they'll either have one English speaker who will help you out, or some fan club member will take you under their wing and tell you what to do. So, but this is why I like doing Tokyo Irimachi Damachi better, because it's always the same, and you don't have to worry about stressing out about, like, what's going on.
Okay, what happens at Tokyo then?
So Tokyo always, at Damachi, you always go right out of the theater and line up. And depending on whether it's a weekday or weekend is which side the fan clubs are on.
Okay.
Like, because sometimes the road's closed off, and sometimes the road is open. And depending on whether the road is open or closed off is whether the top star's car will go through and pick them up. So that depends on which side of the street they're going to be on. But yeah, they always line up in order. And you're always going to be standing when the actresses are coming, and you're always going to be kneeling when the actresses are coming out. And the fan clubs will shout, like, sit, stand, sit, stand, so you don't have to worry about getting confused about what you're supposed to be doing.
So I'm going to add one thing in here, not to, like, make anyone panic, but just because I find the intricacies of Takarazuka fandom really fascinating. So if you're in Takarazuka Grand Theater, you are not supposed to walk in front of the club of anyone who is higher ranked than you. So if you're walking down the street, like, the best bet is to always go in that middle Hananomichi part and not to go near the theater side. I mean, different people take this to different degrees of seriousness, but I think we had tickets. I had tickets for Byokai a few years ago, which Mi-chan was in, and so was Todoroki Yu, who is her senpai. And I think I screwed up by cutting through Tom's fan line rather than going around it. So sorry, Tom.
Oh.
Yeah, it's usually a good idea to go behind if you can. And the same thing is true, like, when they break up at the end, like when all the actresses come out, or when the fan club is like, okay, we're going to leave now. Like, don't take the route that's going to have you walking in front of all the other clubs, or sometimes they don't even want you to go behind the clubs because you start choking up the sidewalk. So just go the fastest way you can get out of that block, and if that means you have to take kind of a circuitous route around a couple of blocks, then you're getting your exercise for the day.
Wow.
But it's just, it's about being polite and trying to leave things open for non-fans, especially in Tokyo, where it's, the middle of a busy district. So
yeah. It's like if you know the area, then it's easier for you to do that.
Yeah. The other piece of advice I might have is, if you're really nervous about it and you don't quite know what you need to do, you don't necessarily have to do iridomachi like the first time. You could go be part of the gallery, the fans who are just watching who aren't in a fan club, and you can go and observe what the fan clubs do, and that would kind of give you an idea of what your fan club usually does, because they usually have a pretty set routine. And after you watch that a couple of times, then you don't have to be worried about it.
So I have another question, which is, so you mentioned before that they tell you when to stand up and when to sit and when to stand and when to sit. How much time do you spend sitting? Because you're kind of crouching down, you're squatting, and that can be difficult for a lengthy period of time. So, to practice, how many squats and for how long should you squat every day? Because we need to get the workout routine. Yeah.
First advice is find a comfortable pair of shoes that have heels. So I'm not talking about slender heels. I'm talking about chunky heels. Shoes that aren't raised too much so that they're uncomfortable. Pairs that are comfortable and give you a little angle, because those are the easiest after you squat down to get yourself back on your feet again. If you're wearing flats, sometimes you get stuck and you can't get back up if your legs cramp. So comfortable pair of boots is a must. It depends on the show. I think in the Grand Theater, you're not doing it very often. They don't tend to do it as much as Tokyo. Tokyo, you're going to be up and down a long time. And if it's a weekend or if it's a big event, then it can become extremely painful and you think you're going to die. You might be stuck, if they're coming out in groups, you might be stuck squatting for a good 15 minutes before you can stand up again. So it really depends. And you're like, oh my gosh, stop talking to your fan club, whoever you are, hurry up so we can stand up again. But it's a great bonding experience.
This is not great, but this is when I tend to quietly slip into Seiza style, where you're actually sitting on your legs. Not Indian style, but you're how would you describe it, Jen?
But that's why I have heels, so I can actually put my weight when I'm squatting. Yeah.
I mean, I've been known to just kind of quietly tuck my legs underneath me, or at least I try as quietly as possible, and it's not great, but it is what it is.
That's hard to do in Tokyo, though, because you're standing in rows on the steps, and there's not really that much room to do that, so...
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But, I would say, you don't need to exercise. And also, they do make exceptions. I had a friend who had a bad ankle, and so she walked around with a cane, and they let her stand in the very back off to the side. They just made an exception for her, so she didn't have to squat. Same with, you'll see some fan clubs have much older members. They'll usually put them in the back off to the side, so they don't actually squat down. Just, they're getting older. It's hard to do. It takes a lot of strength to do that. But I would start off on a weekday when nobody's there and fan clubs don't stick around too long, and then you can kind of build up your
confidence,
your squatting strength from there.
I'm trying to do as many as I can per day. So whenever I have an extra minute that I'm waiting for something, I'll be like, okay, we're gonna do 5 squats now. So
yeah, I think more than practicing the squats is making sure your outfit is going to be okay. So don't wear a short skirt; it's gonna flash everybody when you're squatting. Wear a long jacket or a long shirt so you're not flashing your plumber's butt in the back while you're squatting. Just think about, make sure your clothes are comfortable so you can move in them and they're not going to split on you. That kind of thing is really important.
Yeah. I've been known to wear some short skirts, but it's only when I know that I have a bag or a jacket or something that's going to cover up in the back. Or in the front, for that matter.
That's very good information to have.
Yeah, I think you'll quickly figure out, like, your own routine and what your fan club does. So I wouldn't stress about it. I mean, fan clubs are always getting new members every day, and most of them have never been in fan clubs before, Japanese or foreign. So, like, everybody messes up, and everybody will get, gently helped by somebody else. It's not the end of the world. It feels like it, but I promise it's not.
Yeah. I just, like, keep thinking, oh, what if this happens? What if I, like, trip on just a piece of grit on the ground and, like, smack into someone, just random.
I have seen fan club members, like, either, I don't know if they've tripped or, like, their legs have just cramped up so much they just fell forward and, like, dumped their fan letters in the street right in front of the actresses. And the cool thing is the actress will be very concerned about you. She'll be like, oh my god, are you okay? You'll be fine.
Oh.
You might get some more personal attention than you ever wanted, but it's okay, because you can feel the love.
I guess that every cloud comes with a silver lining. Yes.
There you go.
That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
I've got this love-hate relationship with Irimachi and Damachi. I think now that I've done it for a good, 6-7 years, I'm like, I'm ready to not be in a fan club. I'm ready to do gallery. It's just, But it is fun, and it is a bonding experience, and I think especially if it's a top star retirement, that can be the most amazing experience ever. Like, the first time I did one of those was so cool. Senna June's, it just blew my mind. It was so cool.
Okay, I have to say, because Layla, I know, actually was in Takarazuka the day that Michan retired, and I had to say I'm impressed that you stuck around and waited for the car, because oh my god, I was exhausted from my perspective, so I can't imagine anyone voluntarily doing all of that.
It used to be so much worse, though. I mean, fan clubs used to... The ticket system, it used to be the fan clubs would actually have fan club members line up to purchase all the tickets at the box office. So they would email all the members, and they would be like, okay, the tickets are going on sale today. Who can come do standing in line to buying the tickets? And they don't do that anymore, so you don't have to worry about that. And it used to be they would have more of the fan club members block out the spaces the fan clubs were standing, and they don't do that as much anymore. So I think we're getting off easy.
All right. Everything's getting more technological and, smoothly maneuvering.
Oh, you know what we didn't talk about? We didn't talk about flowers. So...
Oh, yeah, which is too bad.
So do you remember when it was, Becca? It was 2005 or 6?
2008, 2009. No, it was after that, because I remember... Well, no, it was around 2008-ish, I think, that they stopped doing it at the Grand Theater. I don't know about Tokyo.
Okay. Yeah, they just... It used to be, just like in any theater, you send flowers to the actress. The company, Takarazuka Review, officially requested people not to send flowers to the theaters anymore for the actresses, because they were just getting so many flowers that it was just becoming crazy. They didn't have any room to store them anywhere, and they'd just get thrown out, and so don't send flowers, sadly.
See, I used to like it because it used to be they would have all those excess flowers and they would just give them to businesses in Takarazuka City, and it was really fun to go around and look at.
Yeah, and a lot of florist shops shut down after that, too.
Yeah, which is too bad. Yeah. I read somewhere that the wholesale price of flowers used to be set by flowers that were selling in Takarazuka City.
That is funny. I never heard that before.
I'll have to find the exact citation for it, but I know that it had some effect nationwide.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. But, I mean, that's one of the reasons why Otome asks their favorite flower, because they used to actually let you send flowers to the theater. And,
One thing that I enjoyed during OG productions is often they will put out, if the OG received I mean, whoever they receive flowers from, which might be another celebrity, but sometimes they'll get flowers from the doki or from a former troop mate, and it's really sweet.
Now, if you're a fan, if you want to give them flowers, you have to crochet some lilies or something.
I would be careful. But yeah, Becca's those bouquets are kind of cool. The official ones that they put outside the theater, like in the foyer, that are sent to the actresses, because they all have like the names of who sent them or the company that sent them. It's pretty cool.
Oh, one very last thing that I wanted to mention about writing to OGs who don't have a official address. If they don't have any kind of a club or a fan present, you might be out of luck unless you can write to the theater where they're performing. But often if you just write to the address that's used for their fan club agency, it will get to them eventually.
That's a good point. Mm-hmm. And if you're not sure, I know we've had a lot of questions on so-and-so, where do I write to them? A lot of the actresses, if you go to their Takawiki profile, scroll down to the very bottom, if they're an OG, we try to link to, their current websites. So sometimes you can get to their agency through there. Woo! We've covered a lot of ground. This was fun. I kind of like this. We should do more of these random... I don't know if the listeners are going to have any fun with it, but...
I think it's probably covering a lot of stuff that people want to know about, though. So that's...
I love Takarazuka itself, but I also am fascinated by all of its weird fan rules. So I love talking about this stuff.
Absolutely. If you want to know more about fan rules, actually, that's a good segue. A friend of ours who was a Ryoga Haruhi fan, she was friends with another Ryogi Haruhi fan who is Japanese, who wrote this great website of, just fandom etiquette. And the friend actually went through and translated that Japanese website, and the English translation is up on the Takawiki. So we'll put a link to that in the blog too, if you're just curious about fandom etiquette, what to do, when to do it, what the do's and don'ts. Although she did that probably 10 years ago, and
yeah, it's older, but it's still relevant.
Yeah, but with the spread of social media, some rules aren't as followed as they used to be. I think now the Takarazuka Review is actually posting more pictures and videos and things, and they're on Facebook. It's, it used to be, oh my god, do not post a single visual image anywhere on the web or the review will come after you and give you a cease and desist. And obviously they don't do that anymore. So, but it is kind of cool to go and read through. If you like the fandom culture and the weird rules and stuff, check it out. Yeah.
People will occasionally post about the Sumire code on Tumblr and things, I think. Occasionally you'll see someone going, oh, I can tell there are lots of new fans here. I'm just gonna talk about what we do and what we don't do here on Tumblr in fandom kind of thing.
Yeah. But I mean, nobody really wants to be policed, so it's kind of it's a respect thing more than anything else, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I am going to call a break here then, because I think we have covered a lot. And if our listeners have any more questions based on what we've said or things we didn't cover yet, please let us know. We will try to come back with some more cool stories. And Layla, you've got a lot of episodes from the Japanese contingent coming up, right?
Oh my god, yes. So there's going to be an episode about the current Soragumi show, which is Ohi no Yakata. I keep saying that incorrectly. Ohi no Yakata. And then there's going to be one about Grand Hotel. And then there's the screaming one about...
Yay!
Hoshiai.
About your happy thing.
Yes, about my happy thing. Yes.
So definitely a lot to look forward to.
So this net.
And we're hoping to do a Hoshigumi episode and a Nihon Mono episode soon, so look for them in the queue. Thank you for listening.
Bye!
Many thanks to Michael B. and the Arcanum String Quartet for their wonderful arrangement of Sumire no Hana Sakugoro. And thank you, listeners, for enjoying our podcast.